Today, I'm going to be putting an S&B cold air intake in my 2020 Tacoma. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. That's right, today I am swapping out the TRD cold air intake and putting an S&B cold air intake in my Tacoma. Now, a lot of you might be asking, why? Why are you doing this? Well, number one, because I'm curious to see what it will sound like in the Tacoma. I'm looking for a little bit more sound. And in my experience with the S&B and my Gladiator up there, it should provide a little more sound. And two, I like the looks of the S&B cold air intake with that clear cover over the top. I just think aesthetically it looks pretty cool under the truck. So we're going to kind of compare it here at the end to the TRD cold air intake and see if there is indeed a sound difference. Now, before I get started, let me go ahead and show you. Here is the part number, because everybody always asks. That's the part number for the S&B cold air intake that I'm going to install. So, I'm going to set you up over there on a tripod. We're going to unbox this, see what's inside there. Okay, let's go ahead and unbox this thing, see what we've got. Should be pretty similar to the one that I have in the Gladiator up there. And then we'll go ahead and do the install. So, always good to check and see what you have before you start. We have packaging. That's always good. More packaging. Big old coupling. The big giant S&B lid. Love that. Along with the gasketing, the stuff that you need there. That's cool. Another gasket. Coupling. This is a block-out cover in case you want to shut off this, I believe. I think it goes in somewhere, maybe there. I'm not exactly sure. We'll find out. Let's see. The tube. You gotta have the tube. A couple of more couplings. Lots of couplings. And then, whoop, some clamps, a couple of screws, some other stuff, I don't know. And then the actual air box itself. This is a big old giant massive air filter. So we'll set all this aside. Whoops, thought I was going to lose it there. And go ahead and take the TRD out and we'll get this one put in. First step is to disconnect the negative terminal on the battery. It says right in the instructions that failure to do this may cause a check engine light to pop on, and you're actually supposed to have this off for a couple hours, it says. Now, I'm not going to have it off for a couple hours. Might be a couple hours with the whole installation, simply because of filming for me, but normally I wouldn't have it off for 2 hours. But we're going to go ahead and take it off because that's what it says to do. Next up, we need to remove the engine cover. That's pretty simple. It just pulls straight up and, if I remember, straight off. There you go. That's pretty simple. Next up, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the MAV sensor, which is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull that off. Should just squeeze off in the back here with a little connector. So I'll pull that off. That's pretty simple. And then there is a connector here and on the back of the little resonator back here on the TRD version that we need to go ahead and pull off. By the way, we will be giving away this TRD cold air intake. So if you're interested in that, it will be a giveaway, and there'll be details coming up about how you can win this a little bit later on. So if you're looking to install it, I have a couple of install videos on the channel, and also you can just follow this in reverse. So let's see about getting this off. Like I said, there is a connector in here, which at the moment I'm going to try to save. So I think, if I remember, just push down the little Yeah, there's just a little push down thing there. You just push that down, it comes right off. There, it just kind of pulls up. I kind of forced it a little there, but hey, whatever works. All right, so that takes care of the mass airflow sensor. Now we have the PVC tubing over here. We need to pull that off. Just has a little clamp on here. You should be able to just squeeze it and kind of move it back out of the way. Next up, we need to go ahead and loosen the clamps, or the clamp rather, to the throttle body here. And then we can unhook the lid and pull all of this part off, and then we just have the box itself. That actually was relatively loose to begin with. All right, so now we just need to unclamp the airbox, which is pretty simple. You have a clamp on each side here. That takes care of that. Should be able to lift that off like so. And then we should be able to just pull the assembly off. So let's see about that. There you go. Now we'll go ahead and remove the cloth air filter that I had put in. And then inside the box here there are 2 screws. Actually there's two inside the box and then one over here on the edge. We need to remove those. 12 millimeter, there we go. We hit the jackpot. So we need to go ahead and remove those screws. There we go. We should be able to pull this box straight up and out of there. Of course, we have the airflow accelerator here. We have to kind of lift up and pull out. There we go. Now you want to make sure there are 2 little nubs under here. I think we're going to need these for the next application, so we're going to want to hold on to those. We'll just leave them in the box for right now and set this aside. And I believe we're going to remove this mass airflow inlet here, this airflow accelerator I think they call it. But for now we're going to leave it right where it is, just to keep track of it. Next up, we're going to consult instructions, because that is the end of removing the TRD cold air intake. So that's how you would put it back in, excluding that airflow accelerator, which just slips in the hole there. And that's it. And it does look like from the instructions that we're going to have our own little inlet coupling here, if you will. So we'll see. It's time to remove or relocate the mass airflow sensor. According to the instructions, we're supposed to remove the mass airflow sensor, which would be right in here on your cold air intake. On the stock one, it's located somewhere around the same location on the tube, so you'll be able to find it easily enough. But we also have a couple of supplied screws and gaskets that they're calling for, so I'm not exactly sure. And one thing I didn't like about this, the instructions aren't included. I actually had to go print these myself. They say it's so you can stay up to date with the latest information, but I think it's probably so they just don't have to screw around printing them. Alright. I believe I have everything correct. Now we're going to go ahead and use the supplied screws. Go ahead and put this thing back in. There, I think that's all we're going to give her, as they say up north. Next up, remove the grommet and metal bushing from the stock air inbox. Removing the metal bushing first will help remove the grommet easier. So that's going to be what I had told you before is on the bottom of the stock box. So you're supposed to be able to remove these grommets. Okay, here's a tip for you. You're supposed to remove these little rubber grommets down here, and inside them is a metal bushing, if you will. And they tell you to remove the metal bushing because it makes it easier to get the rubber grommet out and then put it in the new cold air intake box. And they are for sure right about that. And the little tip is, if you have an 8mm socket like this, it actually fits right down inside the little groove there, and you can push out the bushing using the 8mm socket. So just a little tip for you. Makes that pretty easy to do. I'll show you how to install one of these in the box and then I'll go ahead and take the others out and put them in. So once you have the grommet out, you just want to feed it right back through one of the holes. I don't think it matters which one. It's there. That looks good. Now that's in. So now we want to reinsert the metal bushing. Should be able to push it straight back down in from the top, like so. And that's it. So that puts the bushing inside the new airbox. Next up, continuing our assembly process here, you have this, what they call a tube seal. That's this big seal here. Needs to be inserted into the hole in the airbox. We have the tube seal in. That's cool. You guys can see what it looks like right there. Next up, step 13, install the fender seal into the airbox. That puts that part on. All right, next up, number 14, determine if you want to install the auxiliary scoop. Trying to decide whether or not to put this scoop on. And you can see, if I put it on, I mean, it's going to be pretty much right up against the wall here. So I don't know how much air it's actually going to pull in there, to be honest. I mean, there's a solid part in front of this, so it'll be very little. And it would be pulling in hot air anyway. So the other problem I have, you can see right down here, and I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Let's get you a little closer. Right here is my power steering fluid. So that would actually cover that up. So I'm going to just put the plug on there, at least for now, and leave that off. I may add it later, I don't know, but we're just going to plug it. We have the cover here that came with the unit. I'm just going to put this in and plug this up. Again, at least for now. You know, the good thing about this is I can change it if I want to down the road. There we go. Next step is to put the airbox here in the truck. I did remove the coveted airflow accelerator. This comes with the TRD exhaust. So we're going to throw that over in our box, and it's going to roll across the floor, and we're going to go ahead and put the box in the truck and secure it down with the 3 bolts that we took out of the what would have been stock or TRD cold air intake in this case. All right, here we go. Hopefully everything fits in here. It's kind of snug, I'm not gonna lie. I am concerned about my strut over here being in the way. I'm hoping that's not a problem, but we're gonna find out. Okay, full disclosure time. You cannot put the S&B cold air intake box, this big box right here, in the truck with the Redline tuning hood struts installed, because the bottom part here sticks out too far along with its bracket inside the truck to be able to mount everything in there you need to. And what I'm talking about is right here where you can now see these painted over rivet leftovers. It's stuck out this way, and that wouldn't let the box sit right up against the edge of the fender here, so you cannot have the struts on the one side. Now I am going to leave the other side, because frankly I think one strut is plenty to be able to hold this hood for normal maintenance and stuff. I do have the old bar up, fortunately I didn't take that off, for longer periods of time like this. So it is a sacrifice, but it's one I'm willing to make. Let's get on with it. I don't anticipate having any big issues now. Oh, first I have to put the trim piece back on. Ha! That would have been a drag to forget. Real quick, this is pretty easy to do. Just slips back on. Just push that back on like so. Put the little push pin back through. Push the middle in, and that takes care of that. That's pretty simple. The least of my concerns. You can put the box in without any further complications, I hope. Okay, got it in. It did take some finagling. It's tight in there, but we did get it in, so that's all that matters. I'm happy with that. Okay, next we need to put the coupler D onto the throttle body with 2 Filmer 52 hose clamps, then insert the intake tube into the coupler, tighten all hose clamps. this is going to go in like so. Let's see if we can get this coupling on here. I just need to tighten this up just a little. Okay, it says reconnect the CCV hose and hose clamp onto the CCC vent. Doesn't say anything about the mass airflow sensor yet. Yep, not yet. So we haven't made it to that point. So next is going to be connecting the hose. We'll go ahead and do that. All right, we got that done. Now it wants us to install the air filter onto the intake tube and tighten the hose clamp. So we got to go over there. All right, we've got the massive air filter here. All right. I think we're there. I don't think that's going anywhere. Okay, the last part, or next part, is going to be the lid. The pièce de résistance. This is the part that I'm really doing all of this for. So let's point you guys around over here. We need to take the plexiglass off the lid, although I'm surprised they're telling us to do this first. Actually, they're not. It's time to do the seal. S&B comes with a seal that you have to put in, and it's actually this right here with tape on it for some reason. We'll take that off. But anyway, we have to press this seal into the slot and just push it in as you go. There's no reason to stretch it. Oh yeah, baby. Couldn't be any better if it came that way. Okay, there we go. We have the lovely seal in with that much left over, in case you're wondering. Now, finally, we can get to the good part, which is the plexiglass seal. All right, now we need to take off. You can see here it still has the S&B part on, and of course I've sweat all over it, so now I'm going to need to wipe it off. Matter of fact, let's do that now. Wearing plastic gloves and it still gets smudged. Go figure. All right, let's get this stuff off of here. That takes care of that. So that's what it looks like. Next we need to go ahead and attach it to the box. That's pretty simple. They actually give us screws and little grommets here to do that with. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. There we go. You want to see something really gross? You want to know how hot it is out here? Watch this. Is that not disgusting? Yeah, that's sweat. Wow, I gotta say, even for me, that's a first. Sorry, I know it's gross, but it's hot. Okay, let's go back over here. Okay, we want a screw and a little washer, a little plastic washer. That's how we're gonna hold these puppies on there. All right, let's see if we can't get one on. These you do want to make sure you don't over tighten. I mean, this is just plexiglass, so you don't want to kill it. Take a look at that. Isn't that awesome? I think that is awesome. Check that out. Now we need to do is reconnect up the mass flow air sensor. Put the top back on, we'll be ready to go for a ride. Okay, the install's done. We're going to take it for a quick ride, see if we notice any sound difference. I'll put a before clip up right here, or actually just before we do the run with the new air intake on it, so you guys can compare the two. But this is the first start, so I'm going to flip you around, let you see the screen. Hopefully we don't have any weird error messages like check engine lights or anything crazy like that. We'll see. And it'll be interesting to see if we get the Tacoma or the Toyota doesn't start on the first try thing, you know. So let me turn you around. Okay, here we go. Make sure the radio's off. I don't see any. Oh, there's the check engine light, but that's at startup. All right, there's the dash. You guys can see it. I don't see anything funky yet. I hope I don't. We're gonna go for a ride. Okay, here we go. We're starting from a rolling 10 miles an hour, and I'm just going to accelerate. All right, there was from a rolling 10 mile an hour up to about 55. Now I'm going to get out, drive for just a second on a 55 mile an hour road, just a straight run, just to hear what it sounds like, just to cruising, to see if there's any kind of a difference, I guess, between the TRD cold air intake and then the new S&B, which you'll hear here in just a second. Here we go. This is cruising at 55 miles an hour, so you can hear what it sounds like now, just at cruising speed. So I'll be quiet for just a second, and then we're going to play the S&B clip. Okay, this is with the new S&B cold air intake. Again, we're going to do the same test. We're starting from a 10 mile an hour roll, and we're going to get on up to about 55. Then we're going to turn a corner, same route, same road. Here we go. There you go. There is 10 mile an hour to 55 mile an hour. Now we're going to make a stop, and then we're going to go from a turn on up to 55 mile an hour to compare it to the TRD. There you go. There's from a stop to 55 miles an hour. Okay, that's it. We're back from the ride. Two things that I noticed. One, I do hear a little bit more sound out of it. I'm not going to say it's, something mind-blowing or anything, but I do hear a little bit more of a growl or a throaty sound, particularly when I go through the gears, when I'm in the higher RPM range. When you're just cruising, maybe just a little bit, but not a whole lot. But one thing that I did notice, and maybe it's in my head, I don't know, but it seems to have a little more power. It seems to have more pickup, if that makes any sense. Now, I know all the cold air intake folks, they always claim that you're going to get more horsepower and you're going to have better fuel economy. And I'm always pretty skeptical of that. I've never really found it to be true, to be honest. Except for the air raid that I did on the Gladiator. I got more sound out of that, definitely. But didn't notice any more power or fuel economy. Now, I can't speak to fuel economy on the S&B and the Tacoma, but I will say it feels a little more powerful, a little quicker off the line. I don't know, maybe it's in my head. Anyway, that's it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the install. It really wasn't that difficult. A couple of tight spots. It's very hot. It's 90 degrees out here now, so always makes it a little harder when you're sweating to death and it's this hot. Also, we have the TRD cold air intake left behind me there. There is going to be a giveaway on the channel for that. There'll be a video announcing it and all that good stuff, but if you want to get prepared, a few of the requirements are going to be, one, you have to be a subscriber to this channel, RobMotive. Two, you have to be a subscriber to my other channel, RobMotion JT, and there's a link down below for that. And three, you have to follow me on Instagram under RobMotive. I'm not going to make you follow me under both, just under RobMotive on Instagram, and that's so that I can verify the winner. That's it. That's pretty much all you'll have to do. Again, I will announce what the rules are going to be and what the contest is and when it starts in a video not too far down the road. So if you're interested in this, you might want to go ahead and at least subscribe to the 2 channels and follow me on Instagram. Also, if you haven't before and you're not interested in the contest, have a look at my other channel. It is, once again, RobMotion JT, all about my Jeep Gladiator up there. Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out when I do announce this contest. And click that subscribe button on the way out if you want. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.